If you have any ticker requests or questions, feel free to spit them out, and we'll definitely take a look at any ticker requests that you may have. But yeah, I posted my notes already for everybody. So if you haven't done so, feel free to take a look at those and kind of give that a read through. That'll get you on the nice path forward on a good note on where all my levels are and what I'm looking for at the beginning. Well, just in general for the week ahead. But looking at futures right now, it's a little stale. Nothing too exciting going on. Just a decent little battle between VWAP. You can see the NQ is a little bit more so weak. Yeah, VGod, we'll definitely take a look at any stocks that I'm going to be looking at this week for sure. If you have any ticker requests, feel free to post them and we'll take a look as well. But yeah, I'll get into my list as we go on. But yeah, right now futures a little stale right now. Nothing too crazy going on. The NQ just a little bit maybe on the weaker side since it is trading below his volume weighted average price right now. So yeah, nothing too exciting going on. Not much new developments have occurred over the weekend, which is nice. It's been a nice quiet weekend. Speaking of which, I hope y'all have had a good weekend so far. Yeah, it's been a busy. Last week was pretty interesting. We had CPI, PPI numbers come out as well as the Michigan sentiment come out as well. And if who would have thought that a bearish engulfing candle on Wednesday would have led to a quite the reversal on Thursday and just completely erased everything from that Wednesday bearish engulfing move. Just absolutely madness out there with the SPY. So yeah, we had a pretty interesting week. We're gearing up for another exciting week. We got a little bit more economic data coming out this week, and we have plenty of earnings. Earnings season is starting to gear up and get into overdrive here. But I want to take a look at the economic calendar before we start things off. This is something that we have to take in consideration week in and week out. So it's always important to see what's kind of going on in the week ahead, what kind of data points are coming out, who is possibly speaking, because we all know that the Fed loves to talk, and we swear that they get paid by the words. So yeah, that's always exciting for sure. So yeah, looking at the economic calendar, we do get a nice little start here on Monday morning, 8:30 a.m. We have the New York Empire State Manufacturing Index. This is just a measurement of how the manufacturing index or how the manufacturing sector is doing in the state of New York. It's a good economic gauge within that industry. It only comes out once a month, so it is definitely something to pay attention to. And you get a few of these reports depending on the section of the country that's reporting. So we are going to be paying attention to that. We definitely get a few housing reports coming out this week as well. That should be pretty interesting. We've seen that the interest rates have kind of cooled down for a 6 week in a row. So I definitely do want to keep a decent eye on the housing industry in general. We have building permits set on Tuesday, and we also have Fed Bowman speaking on Tuesday as well. And another speaker that's not listed on here, I'm just looking at the U.S. economic calendar, is the Eurozone Bank Chairman Lagarde is going to be speaking on Wednesday. And they came out last week saying that the Eurozone is most likely to raise rates even further, which was a little bit of a surprise. Just kind of they just threw it out there. It was like right after the I think it was on Thursday or Wednesday, one of those days. He just randomly came out with like, oh yeah, by the way, we're gonna possibly raise rates even further, and that just kind of it was interesting with that timing because it also came out with the Michigan sentiment as well, and then that's when the market started to speedball a little bit further on down. So yeah, we definitely want to be paying attention to see what the Eurozone bank leaders are saying as far as the rates go over there. Moving on to Wednesday, it's a little bit quieter, more quiet on Wednesday. Nothing too crazy going on there. We do get the beige book. It is something to kind of take a nice little read. It is a good read if you dive into it. Then moving on to Thursday, we get our weekly standard jobless claims coming out. We get the Philadelphia manufacturing index, just like we see on Monday with the New York. We get the Philadelphia one. We get our jobless claims, and we also get our home sales at 10 o'clock on Thursday. That is another data point that I want to be paying attention to. And we also get a Fed speaker here with Fed Waller coming out. And then Friday, of course, we get the PMI manufacturing data there. So with Fed Coke, but Fed Coke doesn't speak until after the market closes, so that won't be too much of a market mover there on Friday. So all in all, not too crazy of a busy economic week. The main focus is definitely going to be when the Fed meets in early May to discuss the next rate hike, which the market is already pricing in a 25 basis point rate hike for May. And then we're looking at a pause in June and a pause in July. It isn't until September when we start to see a pivot that the market is pricing in. Like the Fed will start to pivot and possibly decrease rates, even though the Fed has been saying nonstop and that they are not going to be decreasing rates at all. But the market seems to be calling BS on that. So we'll see. The closer that we get, the more of a grasp we'll get. As far we got tons of data to go through until we can even really consider if the Fed is going to be pivoting or not. But yeah, all right. So that's the economic calendar. We got that out of the way. Great. We do have a busy week. Earnings season is kicking off into high gear. One of the big ones starting off tomorrow morning before the bell is Charles Schwab. And, this one has been beaten up since the regional bank situation with Silicon Valley Bank. What's interesting here is that we know the CEO has been coming out that inflows have been absolutely crazy with Schwab. We've seen even some of the bigger banks that we had reports last week, JP Morgan, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, they've all kind of set the tone here. They've had some wildly crazy beats and, they set the bar really high. So here comes Schwab, and this is going to be a pretty big one. We know that this 59.60 level has been a pretty crucial spot for Schwab, and we found support down here at 45 when things got a little messy here. Since then, we've just been kind of trading in a zone here. So until something breaks or develops, it's a little bit neutral here, but you can see that the moving averages are kind of pointing lower. But for the most part, all in all, their books look really good. They are a healthy bank, and we've been getting those reports that the inflows into Schwab have been absolutely pretty wild. So yeah, Schwab earnings is going to be a pretty interesting to watch and to kind of kick things off. One of the big ones going into next week is going to be on Tuesday. We have earnings from Netflix. The communication sector in general has been a hot key item all year long. The XLC has just been leading the charge here. And now we're getting into the grunt of these earnings. And the main question here with Netflix is most definitely is going to be, how well is the password crackdown going, and is that stirring more people to get a membership with Netflix? You can see right here in the chart that it's just kind of trading in a zone between 350 and 332 until something breaks on either end. You get a better idea of where things are going to go. But for right now, it's just kind of in a neutral. We'll kind of see if there's any kind of hints as to where the options flow might take us. Definitely going to be watching that tomorrow for sure to see, if there's any hints on what direction things might lead. But for right now, she's just kind of trading in this tight little channel. And until something changes, that's where we are at. Moving on to the rest. I know next week we also got a few more bank earnings. We got Bank of America, we got Goldman, we got New York Mellon, we got WAL. Those are all reporting. But yeah, with the bar set from JP Morgan and all those guys, it's going to be pretty interesting to say the least. And probably the most anticipated earnings, of course, is going to be Tesla. Tesla, as you can see, has just been really in a range bound market as well. Nothing too crazy going on here. One of the main key points that I want to kind of pay attention to is that it is trading below its daily 200. This is what I call it's trading below the equator. So for the time being, it is hard to be super bullish on Tesla with that in mind. However, it is fun to day trade. We all know that. But yeah, until it breaks above 217, it's really kind of tough here. We know that there was a prior support level at this 217 zone, which it broke down back in October and has come back to retest that level since then and has been acting as resistance. So prior support has become new resistance. And that is a key point that I want to make here with Tesla. So until it breaks above 217, I'm not too super bullish. I'm not too excited about it. But if it does break below 177, 176, that's going to break below the year to date VWAP as well as the point of control. So there's a lot going on here with Tesla. It's just a little uneasy for me to be super duper bullish. Now, when you're looking into the fundamentals, of course, that's going to change depending on how you want to read things here with Tesla. We know that their deliveries in China have been absolutely crazy good. And uh, the interesting part is they've been cutting prices. And, is that mainly so for tax breaks, or is that to stir up, some kind of hype and bring up more demand within their cars? There's a lot of questions here for me, and it's really hard to determine, which way things are really swaying. But Tesla does have a good strong base here. Everybody that I've known who buys their products are really gung ho Tesla supporters. So, uh, you know, from here, from a charts perspective, it's just a little bit messy, and I'm probably not going to be involved in any kind of earnings play with Tesla. But if we do break below 177, I'm definitely bearish. If we do break above 217, I am definitely bullish. Shaman, I have not looked at Google yet, but I am definitely bullish on Google. That's definitely one of my favorite communication sector names. In fact, I took a swing position on Google on Friday, and I think there was like three other analysts that uh, went bullish on Google last week. So yeah, we're pretty set on the long side with Google. It also had an inside week, nice little hammer candle in general. But all right, so let's kind of go over a few things. I started the notes off with wanting to talk about the VIX and why the VIX is important. The VIX, as you all know, hopefully if you're new, of course, the VIX is basically the fear index within the market. It was developed by SIBO to take a look at S&P 500 contracts 30 days out. And it's just a measurement of price fluctuations or volatility within that time period. If you want, there's a big mathematical explanation of how the VIX is calculated and et cetera. I'm definitely not going to get into that because it even makes my own head hurt. But as you can see here, we had a nice little surge here during the entire banking fiasco with the regional banks, and since then we've really just kind of cooled off so much that we even printed a new just about a new 52-week low here on the VIX. So the VIX is completely subdued. There's absolutely zero fear within the markets. Now you could say that is due for a little bit of a turnaround, but the current trends in the VIX and gold prices uh, really do offer us some good insight into inflation, interest rates, market complacency, especially as we get into the earnings season and as we approach the next FOMC meeting, which is in just over 2 weeks, like I said. And, we had the CPI data that was released, and we see that inflation is gradually decreasing very, very slowly that we, noticed. And, this kind of, gives us a question. So what is in store for us as far as the rate cuts? Do we get it in July? Do we get it in September? Is it, not until later 2023? But as of we know right now, the FOMC meeting that is scheduled for May, and what the current VIX reading appears, everything is subdued. Everything's just kind of priced in right now. The market is forward looking into what's going to happen like in months from now. We're not really paying too much attention to what's really going on right now, so to speak. We're looking forward. We're trying to get a grip as to what things can possibly be. And, as of right now, the VIX is trading below its daily 50 here, right here at about that 2050 level. Uh, Once if we do get a daily close above the 2050, that's when I'm really going to start paying attention to, granted that's, a decent fare. We're trading at about that 17 mark. It's got some room to come back up and retest 20. Every time we've retest 20, this 2050 level, we've rejected and moved lower. So this 2050 level is going to be a key spot for me uh, for the main indices. And yeah, that's just where I'm at with the VIX. Just try to keep VIX kind of simple. But if we do get a move above this 2050 level, that generally means something has most definitely gone completely awry. And, that's definitely something I want to pay attention to. Let's move on to gold. And, I've been long gold. I took some off, and I'm looking to get back in some more position here in GLD. And gold continues to be an outperformer, and it's mainly a reliance on real yields. Basically, what you need to know is that gold is simply going to have this negative correlation with real yields. So when the real yields move down, gold moves up, gold moves down, real yields move up, etc. That's pretty much the gist of what you need to know about gold and its real yield. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking for. Pretty much in this market with gold, as the yields continue to move down, which they have been, gold is looking really, really decent here, and so I definitely want to be paying attention to any kind of dip buy opportunities with gold. I got long on gold down here at about, well, this is GLD, about 181.73. And we had this nice little breakout move. We even broke out of 186. This is where I shed the first time, and then this is where I did another shed. I'm looking for a pullback to at least the daily 21. This might not be a bad spot to reload as well and to ride this thing higher. So definitely going to keep my eyes on GLD and any kind of opportunity that it gives me to get back into a position, further dated options, of course. So you can either do that with shares or options, whatever you feel most comfortable with. But I definitely really like the way gold is shaping up in regards to the declining real yields. All right, moving on to the nitty gritty here. We're going to jump right on into the XLY. This is all in my notes, guys. So uh, you know, XLY. This is a little bit concerning. The XLY has not moved really anywhere, and this does contain our big boys, Amazon and Tesla. So these are your main players here. Currently, the XLY, you can see that the moving averages, they're really all over the place. They're crossing to and from each other. You just now got above the year-to-date VWAP, but you don't have clear good trend here. You don't have a series of higher highs. The moving averages aren't curling to the upside, so it's just really neutral and range bound market. It's really hard to really trade this. This is mess. This is trendless. Now the problem with the XLY is that this kind of gives us that signal that consumer spending isn't really doing anything. There is that lag in this sector, and that does give us a cause of concern. And in terms of forward guidance, and as long as the Federal Reserve adopts a more dovish stance by July, the market might overlook earnings and all that kind of good stuff. So the XLY, what we want to deal with is, pretty much understand the challenges that they might be facing, especially when dealing with a consumer. Uh, if we do happen to get a rally within this sector, that could signal that inflation concerns are in fact diminishing. Uh, and also, if we start to see the XLY take a downturn, that means inflation is still causing a headache. So we have earnings coming up with Tesla. I think Amazon earnings isn't until for another week or two. So yeah, Tesla has about a 15-16% weight within the XLY. So we definitely want to pay attention to how the market reacts and responds to Tesla earnings, because that is definitely going to set the tone here. Uh, going into this earnings season. Bottom line, investors are definitely shifting their focus beyond the earnings season. We are anticipating the July FOMC meeting and the potential Fed policy shift. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. We're at this interesting junction with the overall economy and into this earnings season. So yeah, there's actually a lot writing going into this quarter's reports that, and we've already been seeing that with financials. Financials, we've seen a huge influx going into them, especially after the big bank reports with JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Citigroup. They absolutely crush it. The big question is, the KRE. We know the regional banks continue to suffer. All these outflows are going out of the regional banks and into the bigger banks. So the benefits definitely goes to the big banks here, while the regional banks, all million of them, and you know, are just really struggling because they can't compete. They can't compete with the products that are being offered, and they can't compete with the rates that are being offered in general. So KRE continues to be a tough cookie, and it should be interesting. We get that WAL report this week as well with Schwab. I think that's going to be some pretty good insight as to how well things are going, and to see how contained the whole Silicon Valley bank rupture. Uh, how it wasn't. It didn't spread. As great as we had feared. Even though, I know even Buffett and some other guys have been saying that. Well, there's probably going to be some more problems, and rightfully so. There might, but that is time will tell with that. All right, moving on to the SPY. Been just rambling on here. The SPY, nice little move here on the SPY last week. It was a little bit crazy last week with all the data that we had, bearish out engulfing candle reversal. Then Friday, we had this nice little spinning top, a little bit indecision between the market bulls and the bears. No one was really decisive enough on the daily close. So here we have our weekly trend line. You can see that it's set here on this left-hand side. You had this nice little resistance here that was kind of formed here. Resistance. So look, we kind of broke above it, retested it, and had a nice little close above it. So as long as the SPY maintains really above this trend line, sure, you can be a little bit bullish. But what I'm mainly focusing on here with the weekly SPY is most definitely this weekly squeeze that has been setting up. And it looked like this thing was just wanting to just fall over and just roll over short. But that has definitely been uh, totally different. What we see now is that we have the bullish momentum shift. We get those light blue ticks on the squeeze indicator pushing to the upside. I have bullish thrust signals here on my thrust indicator, and you can see that we have a 21 crossing over the 50, which doesn't happen coincidentally. Last time we had that, we crossed down here, and from there, we absolutely wrecked. And then we came back up to the weekly 50, crushed, came back to the weekly 50, got crushed. And this time, as you can see, that things are a little bit different here in terms of the indicators. So totally opposite situation here going with the SPY. So the SPY absolutely in pretty good darn condition. And as far as things hold, I have support right here at about 407, 406, followed by about 404.55. Overhead resistance, or our targets potential to the upside, is going to be about 417.50, and this 420 level. 420 is going to be a pretty big, significant level there in general, and I believe that is also where there is a lot of volume in the volume shelves. If you use volume point of control and all that kind of good stuff, the volume profile, you'll see where those volume nodes are on your screen, and you'll see that around that 420 mark, there is a pretty decent level of resistance. Moving on to the Nasdaq, yeah, this thing continues to be a little bit of a beast here. 320 is going to be the key spot. Once we get above 320, that pretty much opens up the door up to about 335. So QQQs, yeah, it's been a little bit of a headache. We've seen that little bit of rotation going on, but for the most part, the Qs have cooled off pretty darn well. And as you see, holding 312 as our support, we do have to kind of clear 321, 322 to push on up. But for the most part, any dip that we do see within tech is a pretty decent viable dip If you pull up your hourly charts, you'll see that the hourly structure continues to be resilient. Now, on Thursday, was it? What was it? Yeah, it was Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. The 4-hour squeeze was looking to absolutely fire short and roll over, and that, and then we had that complete reversal candle, which I had to close out some short positions here just to deal with that. So yeah, in a probabilistic speaking nature here, the odds of this rolling over and retesting at least 306 were pretty good. We're pretty high, but we didn't get that follow through move, and crazily enough, the odds of that doing this quite the opposite were pretty low. So it was a pretty wild move, no doubt, between Wednesday and Thursday. Absolutely wild here. Let's see. The semiconductors are at an interesting point. Uh, if you take a look at your main players, Nvidia, AMD, Intel, all these guys, they're at some pretty interesting junctures within the chart. Nvidia has cooled down a good bit. It's had a nice little run. The main thing to watch with the semiconductors is that there is that negative divergence, especially with the MACD, that we definitely want to pay attention to. As long as Nvidia holds 263, uh, it is, just kind of in a sideways market, but you definitely don't want to see it lose that 263. You lose 263, you can really start to come down to about 258.50, and possibly even down to about that 244 mark, which is going to be your daily 50. You can see here on the weekly chart, it's just had this absolutely crazy run off the lows here in October. So since October, it's ran what is that, 158%, just absolutely mind-boggling. So whoever bought the lows off of that is, kudos to you. So Nvidia for now is kind of holding trend here. It can set itself up. It had a nice little candle on Friday. If you're looking for a break above Friday's highs, look for that to retest that 275 level to mark there. So that could be a possible watch list for tomorrow if semiconductors can get with the program. One semiconductor that I'm not too much of a fan of is Qualcomm. Uh, Qualcomm has some issues here. You're trading below the daily 200. You're trading below a sloping, declining 50-day. The 21 is also in a bearish position. You're trading below the year-to-date VWAP. You have a squeeze that is forming that's looking to shoot downward. I have negative thrust signals down here, even at the 50 line. So this is probably one of the most uh, bearish signals that I can get. And on top of that, I have a bearish alignment on my oscillator. So if anything, I'm looking to short QCOM if given the chance. I came pretty close on getting into a short position on Friday, but I decided to just hold off until at least see what the developments are tomorrow. So QCOM is definitely on a pretty big watch for me going into this week. No doubt about that. We know tech in general and the communication sector is the major players here within the Nasdaq. So we definitely want to pay close attention to them, just like we are paying close attention to the XLY and Tesla with their earnings. Apple, sure, looks pretty good here. It's got this interesting trend here that I'm kind of watching here. So we need to really break above 166, which is, the channel high here, to really kind of push towards about 170, 169, 170. If we can get a break above that, you're looking into be a little bit better shape here. But for the most part, you kind of have that same structure here where the weekly 21 is crossing above the weekly 50. Everything's looking in pretty good shape here for Apple, no doubt about that. You had this nice little retest of the daily 21 here on Wednesday, and you pushed on higher off of that. So, trend looks fantastic here on Apple. You also have an upward sloping 50 and an upward sloping 200, and you're trading above the year-to-date VWAP. So Apple continues to be quite resilient as we, go into higher gear here on earnings season. So I definitely want to be paying attention to what Apple is going to be doing. IWM, I don't really care to be watching it other than the regional banks in general. The IWM, the big problem here is, in fact, the KRE. We've been kind of mentioning that for the longest time here. So it's a little bit. I tried to get in a trade here last week. I do believe, and it just didn't go anywhere. And honestly, probably not going to touch it anymore unless it breaks above 180, 181, maybe even 182, get above the daily 50. But this thing is just such in a mess right now between 180 and 170. If you pull up your volume profile, I think that even confirms that 180 level. So in general, if it gets above 180, I'll probably have a change of heart here. But for now, this is just kind of a mess here, and really until the KRE finds its way above 45, uh, maybe even 49. Yeah, the Russell is just kind of in a standstill, in a stare off pretty much. But there is that argument. Well, with the IWM, if you look on the daily real quick, we kind of zoom in a little bit and kind of fix the chart a little bit here. You could get that argument. Well, is this an inverse head and shoulders? If that's the case, great. But we still can't call it an inverse head and shoulder unless it breaks and closes above 180, 180, 181. So that's definitely something that I want to pay attention to. That's the idea that should be considered. No doubt about that. So carry, watch these regional banks and possible inflows. Once we can start to see some recovery within the KRE, then we should start to see a bigger move within the IWM. The Dow, this thing's been an absolute beast over the past few weeks. As you can see, we played this. We did a swing trade here on the diamonds, and we played this break of 336 here, and we got that. We retested it, and we had this big move back to the upside. Really, there's nothing in the way until we get to about 343.50. We had good earnings reports from UNH. We had good earnings from the big banks. We still have more banking earnings coming up that can have an impact on the Dow. So yeah, right now as it sits, the Dow is in a good spot here. Let's see here. Let's see, what else do we want to cover? HYG, we know that 75 is a pretty big level. Let's go over to crude oil real quick. Crude oil is actually in an interesting spot here. It is continually trying to set up this move right here above the 82.64 resistance level. We know that this has been resistance for quite some time. And we're right here facing the daily 200, the declining daily 200. We got that daily 21 crossing over the daily 50. So, all in all, we are kind of in this interesting seasonality setup. April is generally, seasonality speaking, kind of quiet for crude oil, and then it starts to have its nice little summer run. Uh, you know, we even got the OPEC plus production cut, and that kind of fortifies this outlook going into the summer. So yeah, interesting spot for crude oil to be as it sits right there on resistance. If we can get this breakout above this 82.64, I'm looking for at least a push towards 90, maybe even slightly below 100. So definitely keeping an eye on crude oil. I am still holding a swing long position in Exxon Mobil. You can see here the Exxon Mobil has just been kind of in this tight little range, looking for that break above 117. I still have my stop down here at 113. So yeah, Zom's looking pretty good. I believe I had a few other energy names that are on my bullish scans that I had. Let's see. Let's move over to copper. I know a few of y'all like to look at copper. As long as copper does hold above this 396 level, it's still in a bullish structure. You do have a higher low here, and it's just it's more neutral than anything. But I have to give it some benefit of a doubt because it is trading above the daily 200, and we're just kind of maintaining above prior resistance, which is that $4 even mark. The big resistance here is definitely this 418 level. Once you clear 418, you set yourself up to about 425 and then 430. So copper is definitely at this, interesting juncture. It is a good gauge on where the economy is going. If you want to play copper, your main name that you want to focus on is Freeport McMoran. Yeah, this chart in itself looks pretty decent. He had a nice little hammer candle, so look for that. It's just in a bullish neutral position. Nothing too exciting, but I do like the way things are shaping up here. The oscillator is, in right positioning, and you have a mid-level up thrust. So, in general, that's a pretty good signal here. Just got to break above some key levels here, and then you're off to the races as far as Freeport McMoran goes. All right, so I guess what we can just talk about here. What I am watching for the week, yeah, MPC is still holding structure, still looking good. It had that failed breakout, came back in, but it found itself pretty quickly, which was good to see, but still needs to continue to shape up. It's back in a squeeze. Volume is just kind of dried out. So we'll see where this wants to go for sure. Let's see. All right, DHI. This is one that I'm watching as far as maybe some housing goes, maybe even LEN. If you want, you can take a look at the ITB, which is the home construction ETF, and the XHB, which is the home builders ETF. There are some interesting names within these ETFs. We know that PHM, uh, crazy bullish, BLDR, absolutely mind blowing move that it's been having. Look at this weekly chart, nice rounded bottom, breaking out above 86.50, breaking above 95. I mean, this thing is just absolutely on a rip roar, by the dip kind of opportunity. So yeah, definitely going to be paying attention to the XHB, going to be paying attention to the financials. Google, like I said, I'm already in a long position here on Google, anticipating a break above 109 for a push towards at least 111. You have this nice little inside candle on the weekly chart. We do have earnings coming up on the 24th. Main thing that we may have to watch here with Google is how any kind of any new developments with the whole AI situations going on. There's that constant battle between Microsoft, Google, blah, blah, blah. And, everybody's getting some sort of AI, Bard, Baba has their guy out. So yeah, there's constant AI influx of news, day in and day out. But from the chart perspective here, this looks great. You got a nice little daily move here. You're entering a squeeze. We have a bullish setup here on the oscillator, and thrust signals are still pretty good here. So yeah, definitely like Google. Yeah, it looks great. Looks like a nice setup here. Let's see here. Let's see. I talked about Qualcomm. I'm bearish on Qualcomm. Let's see. We talked about ZOM. MA, MasterCard. MasterCard and Visa have been on my radar. I definitely want to take a look to see if we do have some possibilities here within these two, because you got a nice little setup here, daily setup. You got the 21 crossing above the 50, above the 2200, above the year-to-date VWAP. So we have good structure. That's pointing upward. We have bullish structure here on the squeeze. Oscillator is bullish, and we have mid-level thrust. So I definitely like the look of MasterCard. Also like Visa. Same situations there. Meta, of course, has had an absolutely crazy run. Continues to be strong. Next target I have on Meta is 224. So that is most definitely going to be my target on the upside. I'm going to be watching gold. I like Nike, or Nike, if you're on the overseas. Just got to break 127.50. You get this nice little squeeze that's been compressing for a while now that is starting to fire off long. You also have, this is correct positioning. And then the only other complaint that I would have is if the purple line is over 50 as well. So not quite there yet, but nonetheless, yellow's over purple, so that's good. And you also have a nice little up signal here on the thrust. So looking good here for Nike. If that continues to look, also like Starbucks and Pepsi. Pepsi looks great, actually. Pepsi needs to clear pretty much that 184.50, 185 mark to push towards that recent high and make new all-time highs, really. Do I have a price target for BLDR builder? All right, so we had our last breakout here. So if I wanted to use it from this point of view, I would use the recent low to the swing high. for my target. So here's your recent swing low. There's your high. 97 to 101. 100 is going to be a 100 is a magnet for this thing. This thing wants 100. It kind of reminds me of AMD back when it finally broke out and was running on up to that 100 level. This screams, exactly how this is looking. It's looking to really scream towards 100. So 100 will be your big psychological move there. I wouldn't wait for it to hit 100. I would do it like a few cents or so below 100 because they like to get you when it gets really close to 100 and then they pull the rug. And then you have to kind of resettle back in and go back at it. Let's see here. So that's BLDR. Yeah, definitely 100 for sure. Procter and Gamble. I do believe they have earnings coming up this week though. So we'll probably ignore that one. Nike, Gold, Zom, AbbVie has had a pretty decent run as of late. Looking for this to clear 163 to push on up towards 166. Let's see, Meta, Southern Company is another one. Southern Company really tight here at that 72.55 level. Once you break above 72.55, you're looking for a move towards 75. Let's see, bearish setups. Let's see if we look at Qualcomm. Let's take a look at Cat. I think Cat's more range bound, if anything. 225. Yeah, right here at the daily 21. It'd be interesting to see what happens there. Let's go to John Deere. Airlines have also had a tough go. So Delta, let's see, Delta not too bad. Let's go to AL. Yeah, AL looks pretty rough. AL looks kind of rough. You cracked 1350. You're making its way back down to 12. Earnings aren't until later this month. What about Roblox? Roblox was on my watch list last week. I want to see what it's up to this week. Yeah, okay. She hit my target at 47.67. Now you're just back into that lower end of the channel. Not much to really do here on Roblox. Let's see. I like Freeport McMoran. Let's go to Lulu. Lulu they already got their earnings out of the way. No poo stains for Penny Slayer there. You're just kind of stuck in a range here. Get about 371.30. That could be a little juicy towards about 400, I do believe. Let's go set that up. Yeah, 384. So 371.30. That could be an interesting breakout of the earnings gap up. Could be a good watch on that one. Coke is also setting up pretty interesting. MU. Yeah, MU. I'm not too much. Yeah, you got to break at least this channel up here at 64.80ish, 64.50, give or take. Let's see. Microsoft, of course, we'll be keeping an eye on the big boys. Microsoft, a little inside day yesterday that could give you something. Let's go to. Let's see, what else do I want to put out there? Let's go to Oracle. Oracle, yeah, 96.50 looks like a good move to the upside. So that'll be another one that I'll be watching this week. Let's see. I think that's a good list right there. So we have Oracle, we have Pepsi, we have Freeport McMoran. Let's see. We have obviously Tesla and Netflix, watching their earnings, the financials. We got Zom, AbbVie, Apple, Nike. All those look pretty good there. Let's see. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything here. Yeah, XLY. It's gonna be a good one to watch this week. Thoughts on Triple M? Yeah, let's take a look. All right, let's see. 3M, you do okay. So you're trading. All right, so you have like a support resistance flip here, an SR flip is what they call it. So here with 3M, this was acting as support now. It became resistance. We clapped it here. We clapped it again here. You're trading below the daily 50. Still got a nice little. You could consider this a higher low for sure. It's definitely tight. All right, so if you break above 107, you're looking for a move back up to at least to the year-to-date VWAP, which is around 110, 111. That could be interesting. So if you break 107.10, and we can also draw our fibs here too, just to have our targets here. Let's do it right here. Yeah, look how that lined up. That 111, 110 mark. All right, so break above 107, move to 110, 111. If you continue to fail here, though, look for a move back down to 101. It's just kind of ranged here for the most part. Yeah, a lot of ERs coming up for sure. What else? We got IBM, Lamb Research, Discover Financial, AT&T is before the bell, Alaska Airlines, DR Horton. Okay, so you got some housing earnings there. CSX, Procter and Gamble, Schlumberger is on Friday. I know that's Schlumberger is a favorite for Paper Profit. I know he likes to play Schlumberger. Let's see, Monday before the open, we got Schwab for sure. JB Hunt on Monday after the bell too. That could be fun. Oh, Johnson & Johnson Tuesday. Yeah. XLV has had a really crazy week. Nice little cool down. Yeah, so Johnny John earnings Tuesday before the bell. That could be good. All right. Questions, ticker requests. Did y'all have a good weekend? Did y'all do anything fun? Made a really, really strong sangria this weekend. Oh, it is potent. Pull up total 3 chart if I can. You got the ticker? I guess I can look total 3. Oh, it's off of TradingView. FTNT. Someone else asked about this, I think. This was in. Oh yeah. Someone in the ask me Fuzz. FTNT. Yeah, I mean this is a crazy bullish chart. I don't have anything bad to say about it, to be honest with you. You do have earnings coming up, but look at this move. You have all your moving averages pointing on up year to date. It's just absolutely screaming. Look at this. You pulled back every time you've pulled back to the 21 on the daily. You've just moved on higher. Here was your last test. You moved on higher. Not saying that's going to be the case again, but that's where I would put my. If I was looking to get in or add more, that's definitely a spot where I would be looking at, because historically speaking, every time we've come back down to the 21, we've used that as a launching pad. For me, I would look into the hourly chart. If I can pull that up real quick. I think it's you. Yeah. All right. Here's your hourly chart. Structure still remains fine. You had a decent pullback to the hourly 50 at 66 and held, and that's where you also launched off. So the hourly 50 also looks like it to be an interesting spot to buy. Maybe a little bit more of a conservative buy. So yeah, if you're looking for that, wait for that to hold. I definitely just don't want to lose the hourly 50. If you lose the hourly 50, you see how there's a decent amount of air here between the hourly 50 and the 200. You could say you got some support right here at about 64.20, give or take. Once you lose that, that's 63.5. But for the most part, this trend looks incredible. You got a nice move here. This is pretty darn bullish. Your 30-minute is showing a little bit of weakness here, but for the most part, pretty darn good. You got to clear 74.35. That's going to be your overhead. 70 and 74.35 there on your overhead. Oh, that was you, rather? Nice. Y'all are on the same page. Yeah, that's a great chart. FTNT. I mean, this is fantastic. You said on TradingView. Let me see if I can pull it up on this trend spider. Total 3. Is that a crypto thing? I don't do cryptos, not so much. Now, Bitcoin, I know we didn't talk about Bitcoin. That kind of reminded me of Bitcoin. Now, is this what you're looking at? Total 3? This is 1 week. Calculated by TradingView. Crypto total market cap, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. You have to walk me what you're looking at here. These are altcoins. I don't. If anything, I watch Bitcoin and Ethereum. All the coins besides Bitcoin, they're your altcoins. I gotcha. Yeah. What is that? 402. So this says this is the market cap. Yeah, it's an interesting take. Might have to look at that a little bit. Okay. So what? Need to clear above 402. I don't know how you're reading all that. Now, Bitcoin, though, if we take a look at Bitcoin, there's a nice little volume shelf on Bitcoin if you want to pull that up. But you got to really clear 31.8 on Bitcoin. Right now, you're just kind of in this interesting zone here where it acted as distribution and we fell down. Well, accumulation distribution, and then we fell over. So 31.8. If we can break 31.8 on Bitcoin, I don't see any reason why this thing shouldn't shoot up to 35K. So break above 31.8 on Bitcoin. Yeah, you got some decent movement here on Bitcoin. Go over here to where's my? I thought I had a chart saved, but I don't think I do. Is it this one? No. Okay. I'll have to figure out where I did what I did with that chart. No, the key thing here on Bitcoin, 31.8. Get above that. 35K for sure. Should come fast. But yeah, big move here on Bitcoin. Mara has had an incredible breakout move. Lil definitely looks in at this point. I wouldn't be looking to buy here. I'd wait for a pullback at least. Same thing with Riot. Mar and Riot, they both look fantastic. Coinbase, a little bit stale in comparison. If anything, Coinbase needs to really get above 72, 73. You get a nice little gap fill towards 77. So if Bitcoin can get that break above 31.8, Coinbase could have a decent run. But our leaders seem to be Mara and Riot. Mara and Riot definitely holding the key. I kicked myself in the foot for not getting into Mara, but yeah, this thing's been an absolute beast. I know that a few of y'all have been playing Mara and Riot in general. So crypto, if I'm looking at anything, I'm taking a look at these guys. I don't know. Let's see what Hut is up to. Okay, nothing spectacular here. Needs to get back above 250. Once you get above 250, though, you get a little bit more interesting. Room to at least 335 if you are a penny stock player there. Definitely watch Hut if Bitcoin can get some moving with gold and all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, I like Bitcoin. I didn't like it. Well, I think there's still some flaws and issues with Tether, which I won't get into, but yeah, 31.8, 32K for a push towards 35. I like it. I like it. All right. Any other questions? Oh, you like Doge? Oh, dude, I haven't looked at Doge in forever. I haven't looked at that chart in so long. BRY, bruh. BRY. All right, let's see. BRY. You got this large range here. 1016. Let's see, you could say A7. Look at that. Nice little Darvis box here. You're in the middle of it. It's neutral, if anything. You're in La La Land, my friend. If you're looking for a short-term trade, what is this? What's the float on this? What do you trade on a daily basis? Oh, this is very low float, so got to be careful here. Let's see. 840. Once you get above 840, you're looking at 855 to take on the daily 200. But I don't have anything spectacular here. You're trading in the middle of a very decent size range between 10 and 7. You've been looking at 790 to 10. Yeah. I mean, essentially that's what you're just kind of in the middle of it. If you're looking for a day trade, yeah, watch that break above 840 to push to 850. That gives you a 10-cent move. But other than that, it's a lot of choppy chop, little choppy chop. It's not the best chart I've seen. It does offer a little bit of a move here, but it's not something I'd write to mom about. You know what I mean? Oh, you're welcome, man. Thanks for the question. I don't think I've heard of this one, so I always like to come across new names. All right. See some people typing, so we'll give them a shot here. Oh, end phase. I'm sorry. ENPH. Anything on end phase? Uh, this thing. All right, so we got earnings coming up. Is it this week or next week? It's next week. Next week you get earnings. You're kind of in this accumulation phase. I would kind of argue just because you've kind of turned. So let me get rid of some of these lines here to make it look like it makes sense. All right, so end phase. What do we see here when we first look at this chart? First thing is we want to take a look at price action. All right, so this thing used to be a pretty strong leader here. Solar name, it's had a pretty big move from 34 all the way up to 340. So crazy powerful move. But we just couldn't get above 340. This is where we failed and we shifted gears here. The 21 crossed below the 50. And since then we've just been aggressively selling on end phase. So with that in mind, this is still, we're still trading below the daily 200. So we're trading below the bullish bearish equator here, so to speak. We also have, a little bit of resistance here at the year-to-date VWAP. Let's see, I probably need to see where that all-time high VWAP mark is. Probably come down something like that. Let's see. You're kind of starting to taper off on the 50. You're in a squeeze. This is bearish and this is bearish. So you see how that on the thrust here, we've kind of moved into oversold territory here, and it's just been a nonstop oversold. This is not a flaw. This is by a design. We still don't have any up signals here, and we also still have bearish signals in play here on the weekly chart. Granted, you had a nice little bounce here about that 180 mark, and I think that is what it is right now. It's just a bounce within a predominant downtrend. Now, if we do get a move above 220, you could argue 215. So that could be your interesting trade right there. Above 216, push towards 221.50. Once you get above 221.50, you get above 230. Now, if we continue to reject here, then I imagine that we at least go back and test the lows at about 187, 185, give or take. But right now, it's just a little messy. I would be kind of wondering where this squeeze does kind of shape up. You can kind of see that you do get a little bit of an uptick here for the bull side. It's at least positive 2.75. So that's an interesting take in itself. If we do happen to get a close above 216, that could signal, that would be your inside weak break to the upside. That could be a possible reversal play that you can play to the upside. I would just kind of pay attention to any kind of rotation. Maybe watch those volumes for sure. But for the most part, it's hard to be overly bullish on this chart for now. Now, if you bought shares down here, or if you played this 178, 185 level, you're looking pretty good. I mean, as long as you hold these levels, you're not in too much concern. You just have a lot of overhead to clear Like I said, you got 220, you got 230. You got this up here at 250 to kind of mess with. You got 260. Then you start to talk about 300, then 320. So it starts to get a little bit, cumbersome. But for the most part, it's at an interesting point. I wouldn't say I'm like overly excited about it. There's better charts out there than in phase, such as big tech. So yeah, in phase is just a little interesting. Could make for a good day trade here and there, but if you're long in phase, I know fundamentally speaking, it's not too bad. Yeah, it's a definitely interesting one. I like that one. It's just a little bit tricky. Really tricky spot. I definitely want to see where this daily squeeze. You can see where the weekly squeeze though, the histogram is shifted from that dark red to yellow here. That could be a good sign there. I definitely want to see something be negated here, especially on the weekly time frame. These mid-level weekly thrust signals are giving me bad vibes here, especially with the neutral alignment here. So until I get an upward signal here, it's kind of hard to bite as far as I go, especially with the structure uh, settling down here for sure. Definitely watch how these movements go. Yeah, 216, interesting. Could be a nice little day trade. Target and CVS. RJ. Oh, I know Walmart looks pretty good. The issue with Walmart, and we've kind of been saying it's had this nice run up to 150, but the Waltons have been nonstop selling. Like I don't think there's been a week where they don't sell millions of shares. Yeah, I can't be bullish on Walmart if all their top guys are just offloading shares left and right. Target, yeah, sideways. We even had retail numbers, and retail sales numbers weren't spectacular, which also tells us that the economy is cooling off. So let's see. Target, I'd be looking for some possible downside here, but for the most part, it is kind of messy. Could argue it's just kind of trading between 183 and 140. You've holding on to that 200, so lose 160 gets a little messy. 155, 156. Yeah, watch the C here, but you see, you're just kind of trading within these moving averages, so you're not in a trending market by any means. Let's see, that's moving lower. This can't seem to get above 50. That's bearish. Negative thrust, negating your up move here, so that's canceled out. Yeah, hard to be too excited about this one either. If anything, I'd be looking for a move possibly lower. Let's see. But in general, mostly sideways. Nice double top at 264, 265. Yeah, weekly, you're in a squeeze as well. Starting to fade off. This is still bearish. Earnings aren't until next month. Yeah. I'd be looking for either laying off of it or looking for a bearish trade. CVS, not CVX, CVS. Ooh, nasty downtrend. That is aggressive. Oh man, this thing has just been broken down. You see, I got kilos where it did kind of break down. See how you've come up to the declining 21, or declining 50, or 200 is declining. Everything's moving in bearish unison. You came up to the 21, try to break above it, couldn't, and now you're failing. So I'm looking, if anything, I'm looking to be short. There's no reason why you should be long on CVS by any means. I like that. 74. Yeah, you're starting to slip here. Maybe push it on back down to 72s. You also have dividend coming up. Earnings aren't until a while. Yeah, this looks nasty. Yeah, this looks nice. If anything, I'd be looking to be short here. Let me put this about right here. There we go. Look at this breakout level here. I know I'm kind of zoomed out a little bit, but here's a nice little gap up. Support. You came and just buttered through it, came back up to retest it right here, and rejected it pretty willingly right here and got clapped on down. So, yeah, everything tells me not to buy, not to be a buyer, not to be long. I can't be long on a chart like this. If anything, I'm looking to get short or buy puts or do some call credit spreads, send it on down. Yeah, nasty. All right, nice questions, nice charts. Make sure I'm not missing anything there. All right. I appreciate y'all coming hanging out with me this evening. I know it's getting a little late. It's 10 o'clock here on the East Coast. But all right, we got our levels. You got my notes. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. If you're on social media, my email is fuzz@stockdads.com. Other than that, enjoy the rest of y'all's evening. I will post my options watch list for tomorrow in my watch list channel, and we'll be good to go for tomorrow. Schwab earnings should be fun. Thank y'all so much for taking y'all's time out of y'all's day to come hang out and listen in. Hopefully you'll be more for the better of it. But yeah, thank y'all so much. I will see you guys in the morning session, and we'll be at it. Take care, guys. Have a good evening.